Join us and discover beautiful beaches, rugged landscapes, pretty towns, desolate mountain ranges that sweep down to stunning lakes, unique architecture, history and folklore, no shamrocks, no shillelaghs, and definitely no shenanigans, just naked Ireland. Back in Limerick again, and back in time too, as we visit an incredible 13th century castle here on the banks of the mighty Shannon. In fact, this part of Limerick, named King's Island, dates back to previous Viking settlements in 922. So this part of Limerick's been inhabited for a long time. That's the site of the Limerick courts there, and a little further on you can see St Mary's Cathedral. I'll be visiting that amazing place in a later video. And as I pointed out in my previous video on Limerick's O'Connell Street, this is the panoramic wheel. Just imagine the view of Limerick from the top of that. So we're off to King John's Castle today, sometimes called Limerick Castle, which is just a little further along this quay here. But with the castle and its stone bridge in the background there, we're going to pause first to take in this monument called the Wild Geese, which commemorates the families that fled Limerick after the siege, which we'll talk about in a minute. This fountain was renovated recently and was originally a gift from the Government of Spokane in Washington, USA. But look at this, what a mighty fort this place would have been in 1210 when it was built under the orders of King John of England. It was a key piece of infrastructure from that point onwards, protecting the town from Gaelic Kingdoms in the west, as well as from Norman lords inhabiting the south and the east. It was John's castle that secured stability in Limerick, allowing it to grow rich until the advent of 5 separate sieges in the 17th century. Prior to that, a document from 1574 describes it as follows. Limerick is stronger and more beautiful than all the other cities of Ireland, well walled with stout walls of hewn marble. There is no entrance except by stone bridges, one of the 2 of which has 14 arches. But it's not only a beautiful building, it's a gorgeous setting here, just a little up from where the Abbey River joins the Shannon. So let's find the entrance to this castle, which as you'll see was redeveloped in 2013 at a cost of €5.7 million. When we get inside we can talk a bit about what that money was spent on. In the meantime we can appreciate these lovely converted stone buildings along the perimeter of the castle. In a moment we'll emerge onto Nicholas Street, where we'll see the new modern facade of the castle complex. Now while we're walking up to the entrance, this would be an excellent time for you to offer the film a like if you're finding it interesting or informative, and please don't forget to subscribe. Many of you watch Naked Ireland films without subscribing. I mean, it's great that you're watching, but please think about hitting the subscribe button. It helps the channel out a lot. And if you hit the bell icon, you'll get a handy alert when a new film goes live. It only happens once a week, so you won't be bombarded by stuff. And things suddenly look a bit more modern at this end of the street. And out we emerge onto a very calm Nicholas Street. And there you can see not only one of the other towers of the castle, but also the new visitors complex, which has obviously been designed to contrast as much as possible with the medieval castle. And that's not a bad idea. It's always good to see a clear distinction between the old and the new. Now before passing into the castle grounds, which as you'll see are spectacular, you pass through the new exhibition centre, an area full of models and multimedia technology designed to bring history to life in the castle for old and young. These models I really like actually, showing how the castle was constructed. The multimedia stuff, personally I can take or leave. I can see looking at this exhibit how it can illustrate the growth of Limerick over the years. I guess it does no harm to have this kind of easy access to history. We're now looking at the modest footprint of the Viking settlement. And then at the turn of the century, it's described as a Hiberno-Norse town, presumably a more integrated place with Vikings and Irish living together. The Vikings weren't just known for warring with the Irish, incidentally. They pillaged all along the Shannon and fought with other Viking clans too. And then, of course, in the 1170s we have the Anglo-Normans, and hence the building of this castle. And then we see the town expanding out from the island in the late medieval period. There's no doubt about it that the animations and multimedia realisations are impressive. And it's this facility, as well as the new visitor centre itself, that was funded by the 5.7 million. I think the visitor centre is undoubtedly a good addition to the site, but I wonder if maybe it should be possible to gain access purely to the castle at a cheaper rate for those who just want to see the building. And now on our way to the castle, as we pass the tavern, I'm bound to tell you that if you want to make a donation to the channel, you can now buy me a pint. It's a great way to support Naked Ireland. Just check out the link in the second paragraph of the description below the video. It'll take you directly to the donation page, and all donations are gratefully received and really useful. Now we're heading into the bowels of the castle, what's known as the undercroft. This most ancient part of the castle has the remains of two Ostman houses, discovered in 1990, and thought to be the oldest houses in Limerick. The undercroft is proof that the castle was built on a previous Viking settlement. And then we exit and ascend the steps which bring us up to the castle courtyard. Now again, this original area of the castle has been renovated to make the place more family friendly, I suspect. Personally, I'm not keen on this kind of theme park approach, but I accept that kids will enjoy this more than simply walking around a bare castle. I guess the argument is that it brings history alive, but I wish there was a better way to bring history alive. It's all a bit Disneyland. The idea here is obviously that you can see the various trades and workplaces that would have been situated here in days of old. But there's no denying how impressive this castle is. I wonder, is it the best in Ireland? Do you have an opinion on that? Let me know in the comments. And so you can see from this view the stark contrast of the old and new architecture. It looks good from this perspective, I think. And of course, castles are designed to give amazing views of the surrounding area. There's the incredible River Shannon again. To think Viking longboats once sailed up and down here. So I mentioned earlier that I'd talk a bit about the 17th century sieges that took place here. The 17th century was a particularly turbulent time in Ireland. The most famous siege, the Siege of Limerick, was by an Irish Confederate force in 1642. The castle at that time was occupied by Protestants fleeing the Irish Rebellion of 1641. The foundation of a section of the walls was deliberately undermined by the attacking force in that siege, so that they had to eventually be torn down. But the castle was besieged no less than 5 times during the 17th century. Well, it all looks very calm now. This view reminds me a lot of the Norman castles you see in France. And of course, one of the things you must do if you come here is to climb up to the top of the towers for a great view over Limerick, and we're going to do that soon. But first, let's have a peek in here. And once inside, you're presented with a range of castle rooms displaying ancient artefacts. This is the armory, and there's pretty severe weapons there that you wouldn't want to be on the wrong end of. Now, one of the attractions of the castle is the medieval games that you can play in the courtyard. And you can see two chaps here having a right old time playing an ancient version of ring toss. I'm not sure he's really got the hang of it yet. So we'll go in here and visit some more of the rooms of the castle. And you get some sense here of just how thick the walls are. It's hard to imagine how you could do any damage to this place in a siege without modern weapons. Even then, this place looks like it could hold its own. Anyway, as promised, let's get up to the top of the castle. As always, in these visits to ancient sites, you need to have some level of fitness and mobility to be able to get around them. So maybe bear that in mind if you're a person of a certain age. But it's seeing the actual fabric of these buildings and how they're put together that fascinates me, rather than the multimedia areas, but each to their own. To me, walking between these stony walls is the only interaction I need. These buildings are just so incredible, and it's so amazing that they're still standing today and that we can visit them. But why wouldn't they be standing? Just look at the construction. So we've arrived up onto the battlements now. This is where the views begin. But we can climb even higher into one of the towers. And just look at this, all of Limerick is laid out in front of us. Now, another draw for the castle is that they have concerts here in the courtyard. Big ones too. Van Morrison has played here and Paul Weller performed here during the summer. So I think it's fair to say that every effort is made to pull people in. And I think places like this should function in the modern world. And again, each of the rooms offers us a taste of how these places might have looked in medieval times. With the exception of the digital screen here. I think you can overdo the modern technology. I mean, it has its place, but only if it adds something. I should mention as well that the newly built visitor centre has a gift shop and a cafe too, so you can really make a day of this and spend some time in the castle. And you can see here how steep some of the stairs are. More fascinating rooms here, full of interesting pieces of armour and whatnot. And then we exit again onto this sort of balcony overlooking the courtyard, and again commanding amazing views. I'm certain these rooms have seen some horrific goings on. There's another one of those big screens. And again another plasma screen. And an interesting collection of muskets. I wonder if any of these have seen action. I bet they have. Outside again, and yet more climbing. And yet more incredible views. So this has been King John's Castle in Limerick, an amazingly well preserved building that has been such an important part of Irish history. What an utterly amazing place this is, if walls could talk. Please don't forget now to like and subscribe. Buying me a pint is entirely optional. In any case, I'm heading over to the new visitor centre for a coffee, and I'll see you all in the next Naked Ireland video.